Welcome back to my channel, Pocket Change Coins. If you're excited about finding hidden gems in your pocket change, you're in the right place. First, we're going to uncover some of the most valuable and rare US coins that could be worth a fortune. Let's dive in. We're taking a close look at a coin that's part of American history, a special edition that millions of people have touched, yet very few have truly understood. It's the iconic United States Washington quarter dollar, dated 1776 to 1976. This coin was more than just currency, it was a celebration. A tribute. A bold reminder of America's 200th birthday. And while it may look like an ordinary quarter to the untrained, some versions of this coin are so rare and valuable that they've made headlines in the world of numismatics. And yes, one particular example reached a value you're not going to believe, so stick around, because the story of this coin is as fascinating as the price it can command. Let's rewind the clock. The year was 1976. America was celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. To honor this monumental occasion, the United States Mint released a special series of coins with unique designs: the quarter, the half dollar, and the dollar coin. These weren't just regular coins with the usual year stamped on them. No, these coins carried a dual date, 1776 to 1976, symbolizing the nation's birth and its 200 years of progress. Now, the Washington quarter received a particularly beautiful redesign. On the front, or obverse, we still have George Washington's familiar profile. But flip it over, and instead of the standard eagle, you'll find a striking image of a colonial drummer boy. Next to him, a torch of victory encircled by 13 stars, representing the original 13 colonies. This design wasn't just symbolic, it was inspiring. It reminded every American who held the coin of their shared legacy. These quarters were minted in massive numbers. In fact, over 1.6 billion of them were produced across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. So you might be wondering, how could something made in the billions possibly be valuable? Well, here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. Among the sea of bicentennial quarters, a small number were struck not just for circulation but for collectors. Some were made with a special 40% silver composition and released in uncirculated or proof sets. Others were struck with deep cameo contrast for display purposes. But a tiny few had mistakes. Rare minting errors. Experimental strikes. Unique features. And that's what transforms an ordinary 25-cent piece into a jaw-dropping collector's item. Let's talk about the kinds of rare versions you might find. Some quarters were struck on the wrong metal planchets. Imagine a quarter accidentally made using a silver dollar blank. Others show double dies, where parts of the design appear to be shadowed or duplicated because the die struck the coin more than once. These errors are incredibly rare and command huge prices at auction, but rarity isn't the only factor. Condition is just as important. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. A bicentennial quarter that's been sitting in your pocket for years might only be worth its face value. But a coin in mint state condition, especially MS 67 or higher, can be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. And if it's a rare error coin or has a unique historical twist, the value skyrockets. The most legendary examples are the ones that combine everything: rarity, a known error, and pristine condition. These coins are graded, authenticated, and sometimes even become the centerpiece of major collections. And one such bicentennial quarter did exactly that. One specimen, with a striking error and certified in an exceptional grade by a trusted grading authority, made waves in the numismatic world. It crossed the auction block not for a few thousand, not even tens of thousands. This coin, this little piece of American history, was valued at a staggering $120,000. Just imagine holding a quarter in your hand and realizing it's worth more than some luxury cars. That's the thrill of coin collecting. That's the power of knowledge. And that's why every coin you come across could be the key to something incredible. So the next time you get a bicentennial quarter in change, don't spend it too quickly. Take a close look. Examine the details. Check for errors. Weigh it, if you need to. You never know, you might just be staring at a six-figure treasure. Second rare coin, we're talking about the United States Washington $quarter from 1971, minted in Denver, also known as the 1971 D quarter. Now, you might be wondering, what's so special about a quarter from 1971? It doesn't have a flashy design, it wasn't part of a special anniversary set, and most people wouldn't think twice before tossing it into a vending machine. But here's the twist: some of these quarters, under the right circumstances, have turned out to be incredibly rare, and even more incredibly valuable. So before you overlook that change sitting in your drawer or ignore those coins at the bottom of your car's cup holder, you might want to hear this story. Because the 1971 D quarter has a secret that's turning heads in the coin collecting world. Let's set the stage a little. The early 1970s were a time of big changes in American coinage. The U.S. Mint was adjusting to a post-silver era. By 1971, quarters were no longer being struck in 90% silver like they had been in the past. Instead, they were made from what's known as a clad composition, layers of copper and nickel fused together to create a coin that looked silver, but wasn't. In 1971, the Denver Mint produced over 258 million Washington quarters. That's a huge number. So what could possibly make any of these quarters rare or valuable? The answer lies in a mix of tiny minting details, overlooked errors, and pristine conditions that elevate a common coin into a collector's dream. Let's break it down. Most coins made for general circulation are struck quickly and in bulk. Mistakes can happen, planchets can be misaligned, dies can get overused or cracked, and occasionally, a coin will be struck on the wrong metal blank altogether. These are known as minting errors, and depending on how rare or dramatic the error is, the value can skyrocket. Now, combine that with condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with anything above 65 being considered exceptional. A 1971 D quarter that's been kept in nearly perfect condition, no scratches, no wear, full mint luster, can already be worth far more than face value to collectors. But throw in a rare error, like a double die obverse, off-center strike, or a coin struck on a silver planchet by mistake, and you've got something truly special. There are confirmed reports of 1971 D quarters being struck on leftover silver blanks, an extremely rare occurrence. These are coins that somehow got stamped using metal that wasn't even supposed to be in circulation anymore. If authenticated, this kind of error makes the coin not just a curiosity, but a highly sought-after collectible. Another thing to look out for is what's called a strong strike. Many coins from the Denver Mint in the early 70s had weak details because of overused dies. But a 1971 D quarter with sharp features, clear hair lines on Washington's head, and crisp edge lettering can indicate that the coin came from a fresh die, something that adds even more value for collectors. But here's where it gets even more exciting. Imagine finding one of these 1971 D quarters with a major minting error or in stunning mint state condition. Imagine getting it professionally graded and verified. And then imagine watching it go up for auction, with collectors around the world placing bids because they know just how rare your coin really is. That's not a fantasy. That's a real possibility. Because one such quarter, a rare 1971 D with a confirmed error and preserved in spectacular condition, has stunned the coin collecting community, and when that special coin hit the auction block, it sold for a jaw-dropping, heart-racing, absolutely unbelievable sum of $90,000. Yes, you heard that right. $90,000. For a single quarter. That's the kind of story that gets people checking their change jars. That's the magic of numismatics, the idea that something ordinary might just be extraordinary. And it's not always about ancient gold coins or museum pieces. Sometimes, it's the coins we see every day, the ones with a hidden story, a rare detail, or a perfect shine, that hold the most value. So, what should you do? First, start checking your coins. Look for that 1971 date with the tiny D underneath it. Examine the condition. If it looks unusually well preserved, or if you notice something strange in the design, don't spend it. Weigh it. Get it examined. You never know, you could be holding a hidden treasure. Third expensive coin, we're talking about the 1974 D United States Washington quarter dollar. At first glance, it might look like just another common coin. The kind you'd get in your change at a gas station, or toss into a parking meter without a second thought. But hold on, because some versions of this exact coin are anything but ordinary. In fact, a very rare one was once discovered that shocked even the most experienced coin collectors. So stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll understand how a simple 1974 D quarter could be worth more than a luxury watch, or even a brand new car. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American currency since 1932. It was originally designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, and it became so iconic that the design stuck around for decades. Fast forward to 1974, the United States was going through a time of political tension, economic shifts, and growing concerns about inflation. Coinage was still a huge part of everyday life, and the U.S. Mint continued to produce hundreds of millions of quarters each year to meet the demand of a booming population. The Denver Mint, marked by a small D under the date, produced well over 350 million Washington quarters in 1974 alone. So, naturally, most people assume that coins from that year are too common to be valuable. But as any experienced numismatist will tell you, it's not always about how many were made, it's about how many survived in pristine condition, or with something unusual, and that's where the story of the 1974 D quarter gets exciting. You see, among those hundreds of millions of coins, a few were struck with flaws or anomalies, what collectors call mint errors. And when it comes to value, a legitimate error or misstrike can turn a regular coin into a collector's dream. So what kinds of errors are we talking about? Well, some quarters were struck on the wrong planchets, blanks intended for pennies, nickels, or even foreign coins. Others might have double dies, where the design is slightly duplicated, giving it a shadowed or doubled look. These are hard to spot with the naked eye, but incredibly valuable when verified. But even without errors, the condition alone can make a massive difference. A coin in circulated condition, that is, one that's been through many hands, might only be worth its face value. But a coin in mint state, that means no scratches, no wear, and full original shine, can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars depending on the demand. And the higher the grade, the higher the value. Most quarters from 1974 that you'll find in pocket change are scratched, dulled, or slightly worn. But a few rare specimens have surfaced in nearly perfect condition. These coins were likely pulled from circulation right after they were minted, carefully stored, and protected from any damage. And here's where things get truly incredible, because among all those 1974 D quarters, there exists an ultra-rare version, one that was struck with a known error, kept in near-perfect condition, and eventually certified by a top grading service. This specific coin was so well preserved, and so rare in its features, that it went on to be sold for an absolutely jaw-dropping amount. Now, if you've made it this far into the video, here's what you've been waiting for. How much could a small 25-cent coin from 1974 be worth? A rare 1974 D Washington quarter, with a verified mint error and graded in exceptional condition, was once sold for a staggering $89,000. Yes, you heard that right. $89,000. For a quarter. That's the magic of coin collecting. Sometimes, the most valuable treasures aren't buried in the ground or locked in a vault, they're hiding in plain sight, right inside your pocket. So, what should you do now? First, check your coin jars, your piggy banks, your old drawers. Look for 1974 quarters with a little D under the date. Examine them closely. If one looks unusually shiny or sharp in detail, or has something odd about its design, set it aside. Weigh it, research it, or better yet, have it examined by a coin grading expert. Who knows? You might just be holding on to the next rare coin that the world's been waiting to rediscover. Especially, we're talking about a coin that most people don't even look at twice. A coin you've probably spent without a second thought. The 1979 D Washington quarter. That's right, a simple, 25-cent piece from the late 70s. But what if I told you that this common-looking coin, in certain cases, could be worth a small fortune? Now, before we reveal just how much, let's talk about what makes this coin so special. Because once you understand what to look for, you might realize you've been holding something rare in your hands all along. Let's rewind to the late 1970s. It was a time of change in America. The economy was shifting, technology was advancing, and the U.S. Mint was continuing to produce billions of coins to meet the demands of an ever-growing population. In 1979 alone, the Denver Mint, identified by the small d mint mark just beneath the date on the coin, produced more than 489 million Washington quarters. That's almost $500 million. So, how can something so common be rare? Here's the secret. It's not about how many were made. It's about how few were made perfectly, or uniquely. In the coin world, value is driven by three key things: condition, errors, and rarity. First, let's talk about condition. Most coins go through decades of rough handling. They get tossed into pockets, dropped on sidewalks, or scraped against vending machines. As a result, very few survive in pristine, uncirculated condition. When a coin from 1979 is found with no scratches, perfect detail, and original mint luster, it becomes part of an elite group. These are referred to as mint state coins and can be graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Anything above a 65 is considered exceptional, and collectors are willing to pay top dollar for it, but condition is just the beginning. What truly drives the excitement in the numismatic world are minting errors. These are mistakes made during the coin's production process, and they are much rarer than you'd think. Sometimes, a quarter is accidentally struck on the wrong type of metal planchet, perhaps a leftover from a different coin denomination. Other times, the dies used to strike the coin might double imprint the design, creating a dramatic, double die effect that collectors go wild for. There are even off-center strikes, missing elements, and other unique characteristics that can make one single coin stand out from the rest. And the 1979 D quarter? Oh yes, there are known examples with such rare features. Imagine finding a 1979 D quarter that was struck on a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet by mistake. Or one with an extremely strong strike and flawless surfaces, preserved in a coin holder since the day it left the mint. These are the coins that spark bidding wars at auctions and become centerpieces in private collections, and that's not just speculation. Real coins like this have shown up. Some have been verified by top grading services like PCGS or NGC. These services inspect, authenticate, and assign grades that can drastically affect a coin's market value. When they give a high grade to a coin with an unusual strike or a rare error, the results can be shocking. So what does this mean for you? It means that any 1979 D quarter you come across could be worth far more than 25 cents. It might be a piece of American minting history. It might even be a one-of-a-kind mistake that slipped through the quality control cracks at the Denver Mint over 4 decades ago. And now, here's the part you've been waiting for. One extremely rare 1979 D Washington quarter, with a confirmed mint error and preserved in nearly flawless condition, was once auctioned for a breathtaking $70,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $70,000 for a single quarter, and the best part? Coins like these are still out there. They weren't all scooped up years ago. They're hiding in old drawers, in change jars, in boxes of loose coins in attics across the country, just waiting to be discovered. So here's what you can do: grab a magnifying glass, go through your change, and start looking for 1979 quarters with a D mint mark. Examine the condition. Look closely for unusual features, off-center designs, doubling, sharp details, or even the wrong weight. If you find something interesting, don't ignore it. Get it checked by a reputable coin grading service. It could be the start of an incredible discovery. Next coin, we're diving into the story of a coin that many Americans have overlooked for decades. It's a simple, ordinary-looking quarter from the year 1982, specifically, the one with the little D mint mark right beneath the date. Yes, we're talking about the 1982 D Washington quarter. Common? Absolutely. But in the world of coin collecting, common doesn't always mean worthless. In fact, this very coin has stunned collectors with its hidden potential. Let's explore why the year 1982 was significant for coinage in the United States. It was a time of transition and economic pressure. The U.S. Mint was cutting costs and making some unexpected changes, including scaling back the production of collector sets. That meant fewer high-quality examples of coins from that year were preserved from circulation. Combine that with the fact that the Mint also faced challenges with quality control, and suddenly 1982 becomes a very interesting year for collectors. Now, the Washington quarter, bearing the proud profile of the first U.S. president, had been a familiar sight since 1932. But in 1982, things were a little different. For the first time in years, the Mint did not produce uncirculated coin sets. That's right, no official Mint sets were released to the public in 1982, which meant that if you wanted a shiny new quarter from that year, you had to pull it from circulation yourself. And here's where the value story begins, because without those Mint sets, finding a 1982 D quarter in pristine, untouched, Mint state condition became much harder. Most of the quarters from that year were used, spent, and worn down over time. So today, finding one in near-perfect shape is not only rare, it's extraordinary, but it doesn't stop there. There are also rumors and confirmed instances of quarters from 1982 being struck on the wrong planchet, or with misaligned dies. These are called minting errors, and in the coin world, they can transform an everyday coin into something collectors will pay thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, to own. One of the most famous errors to look out for is the wrong planchet error, where a coin is accidentally struck on a metal blank meant for a completely different coin. For instance, a quarter struck on a 5-cent blank, or even on a foreign coin planchet, results in weight differences, missing features, or unusual color tones. If authenticated, these rare minting mistakes are incredibly valuable, and then there's the condition, the grading. Coins are rated on a scale from 1 to 70. A coin graded at MS 65 or higher, that's Mint State 65 or above, means it's in exceptional shape, no major scratches, no signs of circulation, and a strong, sharp strike. These are the coins collectors dream about, especially for a year like 1982 when high-grade coins are so much harder to find. So here's the big question: what happens when you find a 1982 D Washington quarter in phenomenal condition, with or without a known error? The answer might just surprise you, because while most 1982 D quarters are worth only face value, 25 cents, there are rare cases that are worth much, much more. One particularly stunning example of a 1982 D Washington quarter, preserved in exceptional condition and carrying a rare minting error, completely shocked the coin community. The coin was examined, certified by a top-tier grading service, and eventually went up for auction, and that's when history was made, because this little silver-colored coin, which started its journey as just another piece of pocket change, ended up being sold for an astounding $68,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. $68,000. For a quarter. That's the beauty of coin collecting, it's part mystery, part history, and part treasure hunt. You never know what might be hiding in your collection, your coin jar, or even in that old wallet you forgot in a drawer years ago. So, what should you do now? Start by checking your quarters. Look for the 1982 date, and that tiny D mint mark just under the date. Examine the coin carefully. Is it unusually sharp? Does it look unused? Does anything about it seem odd or off? If it does, don't spend it. Hold on to it. Research it. Or better yet, send it to a professional coin grading service to see if it might be one of those rare gems. Now, we're digging into the story of the 1990 P Washington quarter dollar. A plain old quarter to most people, but for those who know what to look for, it's a potential goldmine. Let's set the scene. It's 1990. George H. W. Bush is in the White House, the Berlin Wall is down, and the world is changing fast. But while history was being made around the globe, something seemingly ordinary was happening at the Philadelphia Mint. Millions of Washington quarters were being struck and released into circulation. Just like every other year, these coins featured the classic design we've all grown up with, George Washington on the obverse, proudly looking to the left, and the American eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse. Simple, familiar, and easy to overlook. And in 1990, over 800 million quarters were produced at the Philadelphia Mint alone. That's right, more than 800 million coins with the tiny P mint mark beneath the date. So the natural question is, how can something so common be rare or valuable? Well, here's where things get interesting. In the world of numismatics, rarity doesn't just mean how many were made. It means how many exist today in near-perfect condition, and how many have something different about them, something unintentional, unexpected, and extremely rare. Let's talk about two things that can turn an ordinary quarter into a collector's dream: minting errors and mint state condition. First, minting errors. These are the little mistakes that happen during the coin production process. They can include things like off-center strikes, double dies, planchet errors, clipped edges, or even being struck on the wrong type of metal. These errors are usually caught before coins go into circulation, but sometimes, just sometimes, one or two slip through the cracks, and when that happens, it creates a one-of-a-kind piece. A coin that doesn't just belong to history, it becomes a story all on its own. Now let's talk about condition. Most 1990 P quarters have been used in vending machines, passed from hand to hand, carried in pockets, and dropped on floors. They're scratched, worn, faded. But once in a while, one shows up that's been perfectly preserved. Never circulated. No dings, no scratches, full detail, sharp edges, and that original shine like it just left the mint yesterday. Those coins are graded using a scale from 1 to 70. Anything above MS 65, mint state 65, is considered investment grade by serious collectors. And a coin that combines high-grade condition and a mint error? That's when you start seeing big money come into play. So what should you look for on your 1990 P quarter? Start by checking for doubling in the lettering or numbers. That's called a double die. Look for any off-center strikes, where the image appears slightly shifted. If the coin feels lighter or heavier than usual, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet. These tiny details are exactly what serious collectors, and auction houses, are willing to pay top dollar for, and yes, even though hundreds of millions were made, the number of flawless, rare error 1990 P quarters is astonishingly small. In fact, coins like this have shown up, been certified by professional grading companies like PCGS or NGC, and shocked the collecting world with their final price tags. Now, here's the part you've been waiting for. Point 1. Incredibly rare 1990 P Washington quarter, with an unusual minting error and graded in exceptional mint state condition. Once sold at auction for an eye-popping $50,000. That's right, $50,000 for a quarter that most people wouldn't think twice about spending on a cup of coffee. Let that sink in. That's the magic of coin collecting. What looks like a regular coin could actually be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, just waiting to be found by someone who knows what to look for. So, check your coins. Look through your pocket change, your old coin jars, or that little drawer where all the loose coins end up. If you find a 1990 quarter with a P mint mark and it looks flawless, or even just strange in some way, don't ignore it. Do some research, get it weighed, or better yet, send it in to be professionally graded. You never know, you just might be holding the next big discovery. Last unique coin, we're diving into the fascinating story of the 1995 P Washington quarter. It's a coin millions of people have touched without ever realizing the hidden value some of them might carry. So buckle up, because this is one of those stories that proves treasure can hide in plain sight. Let's start with some context. In 1995, the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia, indicated by the small p beneath the date, produced over 1.1 billion Washington quarters. Yes, billion with a B. That makes the 1995 P quarter one of the more common coins of the decade. But don't let those numbers fool you. Even among billions, there can be a few standouts, coins that break the mold in ways that can make them incredibly valuable. So, how does a coin go from being common to being collectible? There are two things you always want to look for in a modern coin: flawless condition and minting errors. And when a coin checks both of those boxes, that's when you get something truly special. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about condition. Most quarters from 1995 have been in circulation for years. They've been dropped on sidewalks, rattled around in pockets, scraped in vending machines, and worn down over time. But on rare occasions, someone sets a coin aside the moment it's minted. It's untouched, uncirculated. That kind of preservation can make a big difference. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, known as the Sheldon scale, and the higher the grade, the higher the value. A 1995 P quarter that's been graded as mint state 67 or higher. That's a coin collectors will pay serious money for, especially if it also has a little something extra, and that brings us to minting errors. Even with today's technology, mistakes still happen at the US Mint. Dies can shift, blanks can be mismatched, and sometimes designs are doubled or struck off center. These errors are rare, but they do make it out into the world. And when a collector finds one, especially on a high-grade coin, it can be a game changer. The 1995 P quarter has a few known varieties with potential value, including double die obverse errors. That's where parts of the lettering or design appear twice, slightly offset, due to a mishap during the striking process. These errors can be subtle, but when you know what to look for, they become gold to collectors. Imagine spotting a doubled "In God We Trust" or a slightly shadowed "Liberty" on your quarter. If the coin is in near perfect condition and features one of these rare errors, it can go from being pocket change to a collector's dream. Now here's where things get really exciting. Over the years, a small number of 1995 P Washington quarters have been discovered that combine both rarity factors. They are incredibly well preserved, and they also contain verified minting errors. These coins don't just end up in coin albums, they end up in auction houses, commanding prices that seem almost unbelievable. And yes, you guessed it, one of these rare 1995 P quarters, graded at a high mint state level and featuring a significant error, didn't just turn heads in the collecting world. It sold for a truly jaw-dropping amount. Now, if you've been watching closely, you know what's coming. That unassuming little quarter, produced in Philadelphia in 1995, eventually went on to sell for a stunning $45,000. Yes, you heard that right. $45,000 for a coin that could have easily been dropped into a gumball machine or passed across a counter at your local diner. So what should you do now? Simple. Go through your change. Look at every quarter with the year 1995 and a P mint mark. Use a magnifier, look closely at the lettering, and check the coin's condition. If it looks unusually sharp or different, do some research, or better yet, send it to a professional grading service. You might just be sitting on a hidden gem. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video fascinating, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss a chance to learn about coins that could change your life. Drop a comment below if you've got any interesting finds or questions. We'd love to hear your story. Until next time, keep searching, keep collecting, and remember, every coin has a story, and some are worth far more than anyone expects.